I spend a lot of time talking about fiction because I honestly and very sincerely believe that fiction can do a lot of good. I spent a lot of time talking about different music and occasionally the odd story or two that spoke to me in some special way, that had some sort of message or some sort of idea, some thought that I really thought was something remarkable, something that more people and more audiences really deserved to know about. And recently, I compiled a list of my 9 favorite characters in fiction. I put them into a 3x3. And in doing so, I saw some commonalities, some trends across what these characters were and who they stood for that really spoke to me on a greater level. So we're just going to go through and talk a little bit. Talk a little bit about the characters and the ideas that have spoken to me most and why I honestly feel like these are things worth telling. So my 9 favorite characters are, in no particular order, Aigis from Persona 3, Kanami no Mikoto from Air, Ayano Tateyama from the Kagura Project, Kusakabe Asako from The Labyrinth of Grisaya, Captain Marimo from Love Alternative, Matsushima Michiru from The Fruit of Grisaya, Asahina Samidare from Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, Sayori Kurata from Canon, and last but not least, Omoi Kumiko from Hibike Euphonium. Now, when looking at all of these characters, looking at all of these girls and what do they stand for, some very common themes start to pop out. Namely messages about the beauty of life, how just the simple everyday world we live in is something beautiful and something to cherish. You look at characters like Aigis, who were trying to find the meaning of life, and Ayano, who instilled it in others. Throughout this list, we see a resounding message about how life is beautiful, how life is something worth living. You can look at characters like Kana and Sayuri, who found a home in other people, who, through their suffering, were able to find peace because of their everyday and the love they have in their hearts. I think all of these characters do a better job at expressing these ideas than anything I've ever seen. So we're just going to go down the list and talk about each of them in brief. Aigis. Aigis is beyond compare. Her character archetype is something that, or rather, the story, the character arc that she goes through, isn't anything groundbreaking. Numerous times throughout fiction, I've seen characters who have this sort of robot becomes human, learn the meaning of life sort of thing. Characters who start off estranged or emotionless, and throughout the course of the story, their arc revolves around them growing to understand humanity, growing to understand emotion and why those things are precious. But never before have I seen it better than an Aigis. Aigis starts off this literal machine. She does not have emotions. But slowly she grows to open up as she comes to realize the things that are important to her. Her relationship to the main character is something great, especially in the films with what they did with the character of Makoto Yuki, how him and Aigis parallel each other in their pursuit of meaning, in the things that make their life valuable. The things that give them a purpose, and how those things are always shifting, how those things are always lucid. But how through that pursuit, and through the bonds that they end up making with others, they ultimately conclude that their lives do have meaning. Aigis is human, in that she does feel, and she does think, and she does desire things out of her life. And that's really something. That's really something else. Persona 3, more than anything, I think it has one of the most beautiful endings of a story I've ever seen. And the way that it conveys this through Aigis being there for you at the end, the way that your character passes on and Aigis is there, is absolutely beyond compare. It really strikes a chord in a way that I find that little else does or is able to in their life. And Aigis especially. Her character arc is all about how she feels distinct from humanity, but at the same time, how even so, I should say, the feelings that she has are real. and how even so, even if she is something, this robot that is separate from the way that the world works and, you know, the lives that everyone else lives, she does want to experience love. She does experience it. She does love you. And that arc, where the primary focus is love, and how taking care of someone is enough to give your life meaning. Aigis' quote right before she dies, or right before you die, rather, that you don't have to save the world to find meaning in life. Sometimes all you need is something simple, like someone to take care of, is perhaps my favorite quote ever. It is so accurate and speaks to something so beautiful, something that will resound throughout all of these characters. The pursuit of meaning and the way that it's found through love, and the way that the world is made beautiful through those bonds that we make, is something that Persona does and tells extremely well. And through Aigis, I think she's just the pinnacle of it. Her struggle, her development, all of it work in tandem to create this beautiful, beautiful message that speaks to me unlike anything else. Moving on, we have Kana. Kana from Air. Air is perhaps my favorite story. Air is so extremely underrated. If anyone ever has the opportunity to read the visual novel Air, I cannot express just how much I really wish everyone gets to experience this story. Air is a story all about family. It is about love, and it is about finding a place in this world and being content with the life that you have. And Kana goes through this arc extremely well. Her, Ryuya, and Uraha are the main characters of the portion of the story entitled Summer. And that portion of the story, Summer, is my favorite arc in any of the visual novels by Key. Easily so. Kana has this beautiful, beautiful arc where she starts off spoiled but not bratty. She is disconnected from the world and wants to go out and experience it. And she wants to go out and know things that have been denied from her. And she doesn't know who she is or who the people around her are. She has nothing pushing her forward. She is not in any way personally invested in the world or its inhabitants. But through Ryuya and Uraha, she begins to find a family. So the way that the relationship between those three characters builds, the way that there is no one pairing there that takes precedence over any other. It's not just Kana and Ryuya. It's not just Kana and Uraha, or Uraha and Ryuya. All three of those bonds between those characters are important, and they all develop at the same time. Until by the end, the three have become a family, and the focus is not on the romance between Kana and Ryuya. In fact, the presence of that romance is something that could even be called into question to begin with. Rather, the focus is on the bond that forms between those three. The focus is on what they're able to make together. The focus is on how that struggle, the shared struggle, and the shared desires that the three of them have, all give them a reason to live. Ryuya is just this aimless man. He doesn't even have a proper name. But in Kana, he finds something that he wants to do, something that he is invested in. He wants to protect Kana. Same thing with Uraha. Through this desire to help Kana, the two of them find meaning. And through being with them, Kana learns about what it means to care for another. She grows to love Ryuya and Uraha. The three of them become this unit, and Kana's growth, up until the point at the end where she gives her life to protect them, and how in turn Ryuya and Uraha spend the rest of their lives trying to reunite with her and trying to save her, is beautiful. Clannad is touted as the story of family. in the Keyworks, and it is. Clannad is very good, but there was always something about Clannad that didn't stick with me. And I think it is that in this story about family, the main character was always separate from that. The character of Tomoya was not really involved in the familiar relationship between, say, Fuko and her sister, or Kotami and her parents. He was an outsider, and that's fine. The relationship he forms with all the girls is meaningful in its own right. But the way that Ryuya and the way that Yukito become a part of the family of these people makes Air elevated. And Kana especially just embodies this perfectly. She is so charming to begin with. That's just on a whole nother level. But it's really the development she goes through and the arc at the end. Air ends beautifully. It has perhaps my favorite ending in anything. It is bittersweet, yet beautiful. The end of Infinity. Truly something to be held in esteem. And the fact that Kana and Ryuya, and by extent Misuzu and Yukito, are able to be reunited through the children. And the fact that Haruko is able to be reunited with Misuzu and Yukito through the children. And the fact that all of this sacrifice and all of this pain was brought to an end really is beautiful. And talking about Misuzu, who of course is Kana reborn, her ending, the end state of Misuzu, and I'm getting a little off track here, but I'm going to talk about Air because Air is the best. The end state of Misuzu is absolutely profound. She dies, of course, and it's one of the, it's touted as one of the most emotional moments in any of the Key games, is Misuzu's death. And I agree, but there's a beauty to it. Misuzu does not simply... It's not a tragic death. It is. But Misuzu dies with a smile on her face. She dies with her only thoughts being gratitude. Gratitude to Haruko and to Yukito. Gratitude for the summer that she was able to have. The friends that she was able to make for once in her life in Sora and Yukito. And just for the time she got. The emphasis is not on the fact that her life was cut short, but that the end of her life was so wonderful, and how that was enough. And of course, that is what breaks the cycle. That's what allows Kana's suffering to come to an end. And at last, her and Ryuya are able to be properly reunited without the suffering in their final incarnation as children. Air is beautiful. It is a story that is about the bonds we share. It is about family, and it is about becoming a family. It is about finding a place and being happy with your life. And nothing has spoke to me more. Air really is special. Kana is special. Summer may be the single most consistent quality per minute I have ever had reading anything, and I can't even begin to express how much I wish more people could see this. If you ever get the chance to read Air, I sincerely hope that you can. And next we have Ayano. I'm going to be more brief on this one. I have an entire video about Ayano Tateyama and how she is perhaps my single favorite character ever. Ayano, just like Kana and Aigis, embodies this idea of making life wonderful, greater than much, and through the medium of music. The real interesting thing about Ayano, I should say, about Ayano and the Kagero Project, is the way that it's able to do all of this through its different mediums, and how the different mediums are able to express the same sentiments in different ways. But this enriching of life, this idea that no one is alone, that no one should have to be alone, rather, that there is no such thing as a strange person, how everyone is just living their life and how everyone wants the same things out of life. This message that, anything and anyone can become a safe haven. It's just a matter of the people you know. How kindness spreads and how infectious it is. How everyone just wants to be happy. That specific message, that angle, I have never seen better. This idea of human compassion and this idea that people are good, that throughout everything that life will throw at you, there are good people, and that the friends and the bonds that we make and the family that we have, how all of that just works in tandem to make life beautiful. I can't even begin to put into words how much that is important to me and how well Ayano is able to capture that. It's really something else. If anyone wants more about Ayano, there's plenty of video content on this channel that you can find about her, namely the video that is specifically why Ayano is the best. So I won't drag on too long. But I will say that Ayano's Theory of Happiness, not the song, but the idea, that theory of happiness, is incredibly special. That I think it speaks to everyone and is something that everyone can take away from. Ayano is a hero. And I can't say that about everyone or everything. My respect for this character is just through the roof. And speaking of heroes, we have Kusakabe Asako. Man, where do I begin? So with Asako and Marimo, who are the next two characters here, we're going to see a shift in the way these ideas, these common ideas, are shared. Asako, much like everyone else, speaks to the world being a good place and life being worth living and something that should be cherished and all of that. But it does it through something, it does it more uniquely. Asako is such a unique and powerful character. And she's unique because she is so strong while also having this weakness. Asako is, of course, she acts in this different kind of role. Most of these characters are from visual novels. Most of these characters are from visual novels. And even the characters that aren't, the way that heroine relationships usually work to the protagonist, usually put the heroine in this role of flawed, and the protagonist helps them. They work in tandem to solve the different issues and flaws that the heroine has. And Asako really seems like she's the reverse of this. She takes Yuji in, and Yuji is just broken. And Asako is this pillar of strength for Yuji, or so it would seem. She seems so strong. She seems invincible, and that is the thing that lifts Yuji out from the darkness and lets him pick up his life again. But the thing that is wonderful about Asako is that this is not true. Asako, just as much as Yuji, and in such beautifully subtle storytelling, learns alongside him. Just as Asako sincerely cares about Yuji, she loves him, and that is not something Yuji has experienced in many, many years at that point. Yuji being there is salvation for Asako, who has spent her entire life being a soldier for the sake of being a soldier. Being able to take care of Yuji and being able to save life instead of taking it away so profoundly impacts Asako. And you do see this. You do see this very gradual change in the two of them alongside each other all throughout the Cocoon of Caprice. By the end, Asako's death, much like Misuzu's, is absolutely stunning because it is happy. Or rather, it's content. Asuko passes on knowing that at the end, that though her life has been, though she grew up an orphan and then was taken into the military, though she never had all of these elements of normalcy, that at the end, being with Yuji, loving Yuji, having that relationship saved her. It not only, and in addition to saving her, it also redeemed her. It gave Asuko a place to call home. It gave Asuko a person to call home, but also allowed her to make up for this life in which she only took away. The message of Grisaya is that that anywhere can be paradise. You have to make your own paradise. Asuko says that you have to make a paradise for those 5 to Yuji. Of course, those 5 referencing the heroines of the Fruit of Grisaya. And yeah, nothing conveys this idea better. This idea that life is beautiful and worth living. The fact that Asuko, in her final moments, is content. That even though Yuji and JB are broken and will never be the same, Asuko was able to find peace at the end. Through the life that she lived, and in spite of the life that she lived, really is great. Asuko has a quote right at the end of her life that you never really understand the reason you're born until the moment that you die. That it's looking back on the life that you lived that you see just how much everything mattered. And I really think that rings true. You can see it in the main character Persona 3 and his relationship to Aigis. You can see it in Misuzu and her relationships to Ryuya, to Yukito and Sora and Haruko. You can see it through it echoes through all of this, and it's so true. That it's those simple things that make life wonderful. And Asuko being this pillar of strength, who is also human, who also feels. And also, this is not even to mention that her relationship with Yuji is one of the best interpersonal relationships I've ever seen. More so than even a lot of the things I've talked about, and a lot of things I've ever seen. The way that these two need each other, I so believe and am invested in the love between them. It's actually, it astounds me how much I love these guys and how much I believe in their love for each other. It's that sort of affection and devotion that is so sincere and so hard to replicate. But a property that does it pretty good is Muv-Luv Alternative. Captain Marimo. So, Muv-Luv's greatest strength is its character writing. By far. And in Marimo, we really see this better than in anything, I honestly believe. Captain Marimo spends 45, 50, 60 hours not being important, not mattering. Really, right up until the graduation of Squad 207. Their military graduation, in which they become real soldiers. Then Marimo has this scene where all of the cadets are crying, where everyone at once comes to realize how much Marimo meant. And you feel it. You feel it because the point is how downplayed she was. The point was how that constant persistence, never being in the spotlight, is such a respectable thing. And from that point on, Marimo just hits so many beats. She is so strong. She is someone who, as a veteran, as a war veteran herself, seeing so much tragedy in the world but persisting, represents this sort of strength, that a different kind of strength from anyone else that I've talked about and will talk about. That is something that is shared between all of Muv-Love's strong characters, is this persistence in the face of utmost tragedy that makes Marimo so special. One of Muv-Love's greatest moments is Marimo's talk with Takeru right before she passes away, right before she's killed by the beta. She speaks to him, and Takeru is in such a broken, deflated state. But Marimo is able to reason with him. She is able to speak with him and to provide him with comfort in such a profound way. It's this breaking down of her where she is able to sort of relate to him, where she is able to tell Takeru that regardless of what has happened, what he did growing in the academy, what he was able to do and what he failed to do, that he is good, that it is okay for him to be him, that he does not have to be perfect, that he does not have to be anything, that just his ideas and persistence are enough to make him worthy, that he has already fought and earned a place in this world, is absolutely it is so intimate and so personal. It really captures sort of some of that spark that we see in Asako and Yuji. I don't think Marimo and Takeru's relationship is as strong, but it is something, it captures that sentiment. And in particular, when Takeru returns to the extra timeline, or world line, I guess I should say, after Marimo dies, and he sees Marimo, and he just breaks down. That scene with that CG are just immaculate. I think that may have been the emotional peak of Muv-Love, was Takeru breaking down in front of Marimo. It was Takeru coming to these realizations that so much had been lost. It was him realizing how much of a blessing the life that he has is. Muv-Love is all about how the everyday world that we experience, the fact that we can live that every day, is a profound blessing. The fact that we are here and we can have friends and goof around and enjoy the life that we have is a unbelievable blessing. And you really feel that through Marimo. Marimo, her sacrifice, her tragedy, brings out this sentiment, brings out this dread and this catharsis, more so than absolutely anything. She is a character that I respect, that is honorable. That's not the way I would describe many characters, and that's not a slight on any of them. It's just that Marimo has this air of strength and this desire, this sincere desire to help and to make the world better, that even though she is such an actual tiny part of the story, she doesn't really ever matter in Muv-Love Extra or Unlimited, and doesn't matter for a good part of Muv-Love Alternative. But when she does, she hits you so hard that more than any character I have ever seen, the way she just comes in and leaves you with a profound impact, the way she passes away, man, I have never mourned a character the way that is the only possible way I can describe the feeling of losing Marimo. That is something that is not comparable to anything. It's the way that you just feel her loss. It's the way that losing Marimo hurts more than anything. And you grieve and you go through this same emotional cycle that Takeru does. And you see, because you are in his shoes, just how important and just how special and just how wonderful that life is. Muv-Love pushes greatly the value of the everyday. And it's largely on the part of Marimo that it's so successful. And moving back to the everyday, we have a character that I feel is greatly misunderstood, and that's Matsushima Michiru. Michiru is great. Michiru has the very unfortunate position of being hilarious. And what I mean by this is that because she is so absolutely drop-dead hilarious and so funny, two things happen that are very tragic because of this. One is that in the Eden of Grisaya, which I think is a kind of poopy game to begin with, Michiru is relegated to mostly just only ever being comedy. She does have a couple moments where they call back to the Fruit of Grisaya, and they ask you hard questions about her, but by and large, Michiru just becomes a joke. And that is so horribly tragic because Michiru is powerful. Her arc in the Fruit of Grisaya is powerful. And the second one, tragedy about Michiru being hilarious is that because she is so funny and because the comedy revolving around Matsushima Michiru is so striking, it is so easy to forget. It is so easy to forget the drama of her character. It is so easy to forget the tragedy and the hardship because, in normal conversation, in any passing memory, what you're more likely to remember is Yuji, it's tsundere, not tsundere, as opposed to remembering how she grew up without feeling love because her parents were distant and she was abused by her teachers, and then made a friend only to watch that friend kill herself, spiral into depression and then kill herself right before her eyes. How she takes antidepressants and wonders every day, why didn't I die right alongside her? It's so easy to forget how just striking Michiru's character arc is. And to that point, I want to talk a little bit about the Fruit of Grisaya. The Fruit of Grisaya does a fantastic job having very, very dark subject matter, but not feeling edgy. Michiru, like I just described, witnesses the suicide of her best friend. She is a horribly depressive person. She lives every day aimless, putting on airs, not knowing what to do. And we see, and that's not even the darkest, Sachi witnesses her parents getting hit by a car. The angelic hell is extremely dark. It is like, it's right under Berserk in the darkest things I've experienced. Angelic hell is quite severe. And Grisaya has a lot of dark moments. Labyrinth too. But it doesn't feel cheap. Muv-Luv, unfortunately, this is one of its weaker points, has a couple moments that I really feel it has moments of darkness that I don't feel like are earned. And I don't think this is not the rule. This is the exception, where a couple things with Sumika just feel unearned in their darkness. They don't feel like they are contributing. But Michiru, to get back to the point and a much better character, it's because of her comedy and the drama in tandem that her character is so strong. Her arc is all about, of course, it's all about the beauty of life. Quite literally, as Michiru gets buried and has to choose whether or not to stay just in the coffin and die, or to crawl out and to continue to live alongside Yuji and alongside the girls at Mihama. But it's this balance. It's the fact that we learn that the candy Michiru eats all the time because she's a stupid child are actually antidepressants that are keeping her in check, and how she doesn't have any attachment to life. How her whole act, that we all know is an act, of being a tsundere, that is so funny, it really is also tragic, as it's her trying to be something that will be accepted, and it's her trying to feel like she has a place. Her relationship with Yuji is really beautiful because of that. It's about Michiru learning that she does have a place, that living is more, that living more so than dying, even if it's harder, can reap greater benefit, that it has more to offer, that life is something that we should be grateful for and that we should live for. Michiru has this sort of internal conversation towards the end of her arc with her dead friend, where her friend is sort of beckoning Michiru, and she's able to say that she very much loved her friend, how their friendship had given her a place in the world, and losing it was losing her world. But even so, she has friends now. She has people that love her and people that she loves. And this choice to live as someone who more so maybe than anyone, maybe not Marimo, maybe not Marimo, but more so than most people, more so than Aigis or Ayano or something. This girl who really wants to die and really has good reason to want to die, to feel like she is inadequate, to feel like she has failed. This girl who isn't really good at anything, this girl who has spent most of her life being told that she's worthless, this girl who is the punchline to everyone's joke. The fact that she, at the end, is able to look at the memories, look at her own regrets, and say, I do want to live, is absolutely stunning. It is a damn tragedy that in the Eden of Grisaia, Michiru is turned into a caricature, as sequels often do to their characters. But in the Fruit of Grisaia, which I definitely recommend to everyone, Matsushima Michiru is hilarious. She makes me cry. She makes me laugh. More so than everyone. Everyone has something about them. All these characters, as you've heard me say. Michiru's is the way that she balances the comedy and the drama. The way that I laugh alongside her and cry alongside her. How endearing she is. Stupidity is a character trait that often is used just for comedy, and I don't usually like when a character is just completely brain dead. And Michiru is really stupid, let me tell you. But it's the sincerity of her character. It's her struggle. It's the fact that she keeps going, and that the people around her have given her a reason to keep going, and she has acknowledged this, that make her better than most anyone I've seen. And we're hitting the home stretch now. Only 3 characters more. And breaking off the home stretch, starting it off, we have Asahina Samidare, the only character from a manga, primarily from a manga on this list. Let me tell you a little bit about Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, which is, of course, the manga that she's from. It is absolutely wonderful. Talk about a story that is inspiring, and moving. Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer is all about maturity. It is about the legacy we pass on as adults, what it means to be an adult, and it is about life. It is about life being wonderful. It's, I shouldn't even have to say it at this point. It's about life and how beautiful life is and how wonderful it is. The sub-themes of maturity and adulthood, those are all told beautifully. This idea, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer has something that I have not really seen in many other stories, many other coming-of-age stories, and that's that it has a second part to the development of a person. In that it has a second part to what it means to be an adult. It has a second half to the coming-of-age story. So it has the part in which the boy comes to look at the world around him and see people, see adults, and through the traits they embody, the boy is able to grow up into a man. But it has a very important second part to that I think it is a crime that is not seen more in media, and it is the point in which the boy looks back. He looks back and sees that it is his turn. that he is now the person that people are looking up to, that it is now his role to guide the next generation forward. This is all disconnected a bit from why Asahina Samidare is one of my favorite characters. But I do feel like I have to take a moment to talk about Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer on its own right, because talk about something that is not well enough deserved. And once you have read it, go watch the video by Best Guy Ever, Best Manga Ever, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, because it is beautiful. It is heart-stoppingly beautiful once you've become acquainted with the story. But let's get back to Samidare. Samidare was a little girl who was terminally ill with an illness that no one really knew how to treat. And when pressed with the ability to obtain anything in the world, she said she didn't want anything. And she came to conclude eventually, through meeting the main character, that she wanted more time, that she wanted to see the beauty of the world. She wanted to own the world, as she says, and she wanted to be with the main character, Amamiya. And it is this sort of development that she goes through, because you spend most of the manga empathizing with her. The way her ideals are presented are not presented as wrong. You know, she is the devil that will destroy the world, and the main character is the devil's knight. But at the very end, this idea gets twisted. It gets inverted, that because what it really is going on is that it was Samidare's fear of her own mortality. It was the knowledge and that she is not going to live very long, that the things that she holds precious and will never be hers forever, that she will never be able to see the world in all of its splendor, that she will never be able to have the world for her own because she is going to die. That shook this child to her core. But through the end, just as we have seen through all of this, what's stressed are the bonds that she's able to make with the mythical knights. It's the losses she goes through, losing, Toru and whatnot. It's looking back on everything and saying that more important than my fear of the end is my love for what I have. It's her final words saying that I love you, Yuhei. It's her saying that she loves the main character more than she loves the world. It's her saying that this world that we live in, that even if her time is finite, she wants to keep living. That she wants to experience the world with the people around her. The Mythical Beast Knights, they have something that I feel like is very rare in fiction, and that is a very good group dynamic. The Squad 207, and consequently Squad A, and Muv-Luv Alternative has it, the Little Busters have it, I think C's has it. Kind of. But this incredibly strong interpersonal dynamic where the group feels like a character and the group is so strong, and the relationships between everyone in the group are so special, really is special. It's not something that you see a lot, and in a story that is about how the bonds we make are able to save us, that is so powerful to have, because you as an audience can see this group and you can feel the strength behind it. It isn't something that you just have to be told. You see how much these people care for each other. You see how much they're able to change each other. Every character in this story is so dynamic. And by the end, you feel that passion for life. You feel that desire to keep going through everything. Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer is extremely underrated. It's not that long. It's only like 65 chapters. You can read it in like a day or two. I sincerely want everyone to read this. I talked about like how obviously I think all of these things are great. Persona 3 is great. Air is legendary. The Kagero Project, I don't even have to tell you, it's great. Grisai is great. Muv-Luff's great. The Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer is not only my favorite manga. Berserk is still ongoing, but anyway, it's not only my favorite manga. It's something that like, man, so few people have. There is not enough love. There's not enough collective understanding of just how great this story is. Absolutely everyone, please, I implore you, go read Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. See Samidare's arc. See how she grows to realize, she comes to realize that the bonds she has are more important than the inevitability of loss. How being able to be with the people that she cares about matter so much more than anything else. And how wonderful that is, and how sincerely you feel that sentiment. Everyone needs to do that. Everyone needs to have that in their life. Furthermore, the story is incredibly inspirational. It is the only story that I think captures many of the shonen ideals and isn't stupid. I have never been able to get into shonen or the shonen archetypes or the shonen tropes. And while I would not call Lucifer and the Biscuit Knight a shonen, these ideals of hard work and persistence are there. And I feel like they're more tangible than in any Naruto or Bleach or what have you that I've seen in my life. But moving on, final two, Sayuri Kurata. Sayuri is an enigma. It's difficult for one to get a complete understanding of why this character is so great, because her character is different in the visual novel of Canon and the anime of Canon 2006, and it's different in a way that isn't better in any one particular way. Rather, both of the tellings of this character, both of the versions of Sayuri Kurata, and both of the things they bring work in tandem to create a character that is absolutely outstanding. Sayuri is a secondary character. She, much like Marimo, plays a tiny part of the story. She is a secondary character in only one of Canon's 4 or 5 arcs, and she is a character who I like to say is finished, in the sense that unlike Mai, whose arc she is in, she does not have a character arc to go through. Sayuri is done with her character arc. She went through a character arc before the story started, and she serves as a pillar for Yuichi to come to know what to do, what it is he should be doing, what he should be thinking. And it's through this arc that we see. It's through the loss that we know that she feels, and it's through the airs that she puts up that Sayuri is so powerful. So we know that Sayuri has gone through incredible loss. She lost her brother at a young age, and she lost him knowing that she never gave him the love that she always wanted to give him. She lost Kazuya, and upon his final moments, she could only think of how she failed him. Now, this isn't true, of course, but this is what affected her. This is how she was left. This impression that she is lost to the world, that she had a job and failed it, lingers with her up through middle school and through high school. She tries to kill herself, we learn in the visual novel, but she fails. Her suicide attempt fails, and she keeps on living. And she keeps on living, knowing and waiting to try and kill herself again. But before she gets before she gets another attempt to finish the job, she meets Mai, and through Mai's helplessness, through the state in which Mai is in, befriending her becomes her salvation. This is really an Asako story. Being with Mai, she sees in Mai some of the things that she saw in Kazuya, and being able to become her friend gives Sayuri the salvation that she was after for so long, or that she wasn't even after, that she didn't know she wanted, because she wasn't seeking atonement, she was just seeking punishment. But being able to be with Mai, the friendship that they have, being able to help, ends up being much more important to Sayuri than punishing herself, than killing herself. And this is the side that we get from the visual novel. We get in Sayuri's little ending this beautiful line about how just being with Mai and Yuichi is happiness. How those, every day where they just eat lunch is wonderful. How this is what she wanted all along. And then in the anime, flip the coin here, we see that we have this wonderful, wonderful metaphor that Sayuri draws that gives meaning to the title of the game. We get Sayuri explaining how life is like a cannon, or should be like a cannon. We get her talking about how a canon is this type of song where the same core melody just repeats and repeats, but with every repetition, more harmonies get added, more instruments join, the instrumentation develops, the texture of the song, progresses. And by the end, even though it's the same thing you heard before, it just keeps getting more and more beautiful. And Sayuri expresses her desire for life to be that way. How nice it would be if life was like a canon. How we simply go about our lives, and though nothing may seem to change, the fact that we have this every day that seems so similar makes our life better. She thinks about Mai and Yuichi, and she thinks about how she failed to help her brother, and wishes that one day she'll be able to look back on it all, and the good memories and the bad memories will just harmonize together and be a part of her life. How much the fact that she has Mai and Yuichi mean to her, and how those seemingly similar days all make her life better. It's this shared idea that we have seen now in many of these things, like I keep saying, that the everyday, that just being alive, that having what we have, being with people, all of that is what makes life beautiful. It is what enriches life, and it is what pushes us to keep going. Sayuri's arc from being flawed to being helpless, to being self-deprecating, to her failed suicide attempt, to her redemption, to her looking back on the light that she has. All of that from a secondary character is uncomparable. There is nothing else, no one else like Sayuri in any of the key works, in any of the anything. Sayuri is this perfect representation of canon, of its themes, of the messages of the story, what canon is about, and what canon is at its best. And furthermore, she's a perfect representation of these ideas, of life being beautiful, of the day today that we have being special. I will never get tired of watching canon and reading canon and getting to Sayuri and reading about her arc, because it is so easy to forget. It is so easy to not notice that the simple everyday moments that we have, that these seemingly similar days are all making our lives better. It's that message more than anything that canon and Sayuri really hammer home. And it's what makes Sayuri one of my favorite characters. And lastly, last amongst this hall of legends is Oh My Kumiko. Where do I even start? Hibike Euphonium is one of my favorite anime, and Kumiko is definitely one of my favorite protagonists. Her life and her character, it's all about It's all about the pursuit of passion. It's all about living vividly. Kumiko is a bit of a different character than the rest of these characters, the rest of these heroines and girls on this list. Kumiko is about, living vividly. She is about realizing that life is interesting only if you make it that way. Life is inherently this beautiful thing, as all of these different stories have told us. But truly, passion, having investment, having desire, make our lives so much better. It's about learning to love. It is about the bonds that we make while pursuing our dreams. It's about how much having a dream to pursue is able to change someone for the better. Hibike Euphonium, I think, is strongest in its first season, because that's when the arc of Kumiko really comes, it is the focus. It's about Kumiko learning to have passion. It's about how the desire to change and improve can push people to be better. And that might seem like it's at odds with everything that we've seen so far. It might seem like it's at odds with all these stories that stress that even if we don't notice life, it is around us, it is changing us, it is impacting us. And that's true. And, through things like Persona or whatnot, we can see these ideas still as we do in Hibike. We see Kumiko and her relationship with Reina, how that is what pushes Kumiko to be better, how those bonds were able to give her life meaning and help her push her onto a road that would make her enjoy life more. But this final piece, that life is an opportunity, this final idea, this development, that we ultimately have to make the decision to live. Life is beautiful. The world around us is beautiful. The people that we know are a blessing. But actually living is something that we have to do. That's something that we see in, the Kagura Project. That's something that we see with Michiru. Hibike Euphonium is about the choice to make your life interesting. It is the choice and the desire to be something more than nothing. It speaks to passion. It speaks to having a dream. It speaks to what that does to people, how wonderful that is, and how bright the world can be when you are willing to pursue your own ends. Hibike Euphonium is a wonderful show. It changed me tremendously, and Kumiko I have never related to someone more. At the time that I watched Hibike Euphonium, Kumiko so amazingly spoke to my own conflicts and my own struggles. She, as you may notice, is the only protagonist, I should say, on this list. All the other ones are, they're important characters, they're main characters or side characters or heroines or what have you, but Kumiko is our protagonist. And it's that push and that change and this arc that she goes through that stresses life's beauty, that makes Kumiko stand above so many other characters. So these are my 9 favorite characters, as we've seen. And throughout them all, there is, of course, a strong common theme. It's this idea that life is worth living. It's this idea that we should live, that the world is beautiful, that we only have to take the steps to go out and see it, that living is something that we do, that we have to go out and choose to live. And when we do, and when we look at the people that we've met through that process, when we look at what we've accomplished and what we've obtained, that is something beautiful. All of these stories, I think, have, in no small terms, done a lot to make my life better. I think that having these revelations, thinking about life, having my perspective about life reflect these ideas, this idea that the everyday is beautiful, that you don't need to be a hero, that you don't need to, you don't need to count the number of lives you've saved to mark how important you are, that just living is enough, as Shiki says in Tsukihime. All of these ideas have allowed me to live a better life. I think fiction is powerful. I think that the messages we can glean from it, the stories that it tells, the tragedies and the dramas, the tears that are shed, all of it allow us as people to feel things and to have experiences that we otherwise wouldn't, to push us to think about our lives and the world around us differently. And all of these characters, all of these stories have made me and my life better. And that's the reason that all of these characters stand as the absolute best of the best. Thank you.